It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do. From the Dixieline Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Thursday Hacksaw's Headlines podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host from left field, John Riley. We welcome you to our Thursday get-together. The podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 stores to serve you in San Diego. You got projects. These are your best friends to get these projects done at home or at work or on the patio. And by North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido, regardless of where you live in San Diego County, you have the opportunity to get a free eye exam, get your eyes checked. That could lead to new glasses, new contact lenses. If you've got more serious problems, think North County Eye Center, Poway, Escondido. Make sure you tell them Hacksaw sent me to get the free vision test. John Riley, have we got a ton of topics on the table? Red hot day outside weather-wise, red hot San Diego Padre pitching, and we're going to go a lot of different directions because just around the corner is the baseball trading deadline, so buckle your seatbelt, pal.
Yeah, jam-packed. We got baseball, football, basketball, hockey, golf. It's all there in Hacksaw's Headlines.
Now, before we start, a couple of business items. X marks the spot. You're all on social media. I want you to join my Twitter All-Star team on X. Just type in my name, my handle, at Hacksaw1090, and follow me. We're trying to push my total count up to 10,000 followers. Want you to be part of the team. Second item, if you like sports, have you checked my website? It's there every morning. It's all written, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You read it first thing in the morning. You'll be the most educated guy in San Diego, aside from the guy that wrote it, me. LeeHacksawHamilton.com. And by the way, there's an orange box on the homepage. Fill that out. Join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You'll get on our mailing list. And John Riley, when he's not yelling at you, just wants me to remind you, we want you to share. We want you to subscribe. Tell everybody what we're doing with this podcast. And if you subscribe, then you'll get the alerts because we put stuff up on the YouTube channel virtually nonstop. John, I'm ready. Are you? What a day.
What a day. We got to talk about Dylan Cease. What an accomplishment.
Padres, no-hitter by the former White Sox starter. Yay. I don't cheer at the TV, yell at the TV very often, but I came out of the chair in the bottom of the 9th inning. Dylan Cease throws a no-hitter in Washington against the Nationals. Don't tell me that Washington's got a AAA batting order. It's still Major League Baseball. And Dylan Cease talked his way back onto the mound in both the 8th and the 9th innings. I think he finished north of 110 pitches in the game, which is a lot. But boy, I saw the last 2 innings, and he was cruising. He did not have a lot of stressful innings, and Mike Schilt just looked him in the eye and said, "Are you ready?" He said, "I'm going back out on the mound, damn it. Don't tell me anything else." And he went out. Had he walked somebody in the 8th or 9th, had there been a base hit, they probably would have pulled him immediately because the pitch count, he always throws high pitch count games. Dylan Cease goes into history. No-hitter. Second no-hitter, Padre baseball. And I'll tell you the most unique thing, his last 3 starts, one-hitter, no-hitter.
Damn.
Now, the 2 one-hitters were 6 or 7 inning starts. They were not the full-bore game. I went back and researched this. In his last 3 starts, 22 innings, no runs, 2 hits, and 30 strikeouts.
Is that good?
Last 3 games. Holy cow. It's fascinating. He's such a competitor. He's such a bulldog. He's never been really consistent. Well, these last 3 starts, yeah, that's consistency squared. And I'm going to make a side comment. You know, we talk about the Padres, all different dimensions of Padre baseball. And we got the payroll and the struggle to stay above 500, the battle to stay in the pennant race, the wild card chase, etc. Who's the star of the team? Who's the MVP of the team? I'm going to throw a different name at you. If this thing turns out to be a playoff season, if they can go deeper in October, MVP, Ruben Niebla.
Hey.
What he did with Cease mechanically to change the location of the glove and the location of the glove and the ball in his hand as he made his stride on the mound, it's amazing. Look at the end result since they fixed this guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he had 8 starts at the start of the season, 2.11 ERA. He had 11 starts in a row after that. His ERA was in the 6s. And they went back to video and they looked and said, we need you, maybe you're tipping pitchers off. We need you to put your glove close to your chest when you start your delivery and bring the ball out from here, not out from here. What's happened last 3 starts since they made that adjustment with the location of the glove and the hand on the ball in the glove? What a job by Niebla. So you take what Niebla has done there, what he did to refine Michael King, who walked a lot of batters and gave up a lot of home runs at the beginning of the season, what he's done with Matt Waldron and ye old knuckleball, what he's done with Adrian Morion, and what he's done to help convert Robert Suarez into an all-star closer when he was just a guy who had come from Japan just 2 years ago. So at the end of the day, anybody agree with me? Possible MVP candidate, the Padres pitching coach. So this was a hell of a day. And in the big picture of things, Padres are 55-50. They are still chasing the Dodgers. Got to go into Baltimore next. Then they're going to come home and they're going to play the Dodgers. So their whole season, their pennant hopes, I think, really swings on what they accomplish the next 5 or 6 games, Orioles, Dodgers. And John Riley says,
wow. I mean, it was just a big wow, and you lose Musgrove and Darvish, and then you've got Dylan Cease. I mean, like, has he won a Cy Young, or he's come close to it, right?
He's been in the neighborhood, but he's always been hot and cold. When he was with the White Sox, he could be dominant, and then he could be MIA.
But good call on Ruben Niebla, Now, when first of all, AJ Preller signed him. Okay, we got to give props to AJ for that. Brought him over. But was he a minor league pitching coach for the Guardians, or was he on the major league staff?
He was the guy.
Okay.
He was the pitching coach. Cleveland historically has developed good young pitchers over the last 4 or 5 years, lower budget franchise, and yet they've had good pitching there for a chunk of time, and they lured him here. He's done just a masterful job, considering if you looked at the names that I just rattled off and what they were prior to interaction with Ruben Niebla. Yeah, he's an MVP type guy.
Well, in the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and who comes up to the plate? It's CJ Abrams. And I'm like, oh, this is where it's all going to go wrong. But he lined out to right field. I mean, just what a great day for the Padres. They've won a bunch of games in a row. They're rolling. But Dylan Cease, man, Padre history.
Yeah. Second one, Joe Musgrove, the first one a couple years back. Musgrove, one of the first guys out of the dugout, crushed the guy, just bear hugged Dylan Cease. It was cool for all the emotional ups and downs of this roller coaster of a Padres season. That was pretty cool. You're a Padre fan. Hey, I want you to join us in Fans Forum. Jump on now into the chat box, because when we're done putting topics on the table, we're going to take your questions, give you some answers. Fans Forum box is open. And you can be a fan of another team out of town. How impressive is what Dylan Cease has done last 3 starts? One hitter, no hitter. Okay, so we go from that topic on the table to a baseball notebook topic.
Yeah, we'll talk a little Padres, Dodgers, Angels. These Southern California teams are rolling right now.
Well, there's a lot of storylines here to kind of just run through with you. First of all, let's talk about this Padres situation. Let's talk about Xander Bogaerts coming back. Now, dude was hitting, 219 when he got hurt with a shoulder dislocation and the extended period on the DL, and he comes back like a new man. Holy cow. He was 14 for 29 coming into today's game since he came off the disabled list. And he made a significant defensive play, stuck with a hard-hit ground ball, knocked it down, picked it up, was composed, threw the guy out at first to preserve the no-hitter in the 8th inning of that game. But tell you what, if Bogaerts can continue to hit, and Jackson Merrill can continue to hit, and you got Machado, who needs to start hitting again, and Kim needs to start hitting again. If they can get this lineup clicking all at the same time, it's going to be fun. Now, I take everything with a pound of salt here.
Pound.
I mean, they beat a AAA Washington Nationals lineup. Okay. That game on Wednesday was really bad, was really ugly, and they just kicked the crap out of the Nationals pitching. The Nationals don't have a lot of pitching. Padres had 15 hits in 5 innings, first 5 innings of that game last night. I mean, it was really lopsided. So we'll find out now. But boy, if Xander can be Xander and be hot, that makes the lineup even a little bit more tougher. So that's the Padres situation. We move on, talk about where the Dodgers are. I have never seen a team make so many roster transactions like the Dodgers have made in the last 72 hours. And this has got a lot to do with injuries. Tyler Glasnow back, pitched pretty impressively against the Giants on Wednesday night. Clayton Kershaw, first start back after 4 rehab assignments. We'll see how long his shoulder holds up. Joe Kelly is back off the DL. He will now become the setup guy in the bullpen for them. Brusdar Graterol and Michael Grove have now been sent to Oklahoma City. So remember, at one time, the Dodgers had 16 pitchers on the DL. Now they're starting to get some of these guys back. But for every piece of good news with the Dodgers, there's bad news. Landon Knack, flame-throwing young pitcher, elbow surgery this morning, just diagnosed.
Oh, my God.
He's going on the disabled list. So they get guys back, and now they lose another one. But all the young guys that they've kind of force-fed, including the latest one, Ryan River, or River Ryan, very, very impressive coming out of AAA. Yamamoto has started long toss, 200 feet, no setback. He's headed next to the bullpen. And the Dodgers just continue to make moves to try to go find some additional pitching. And, of course, the trade deadline is next Tuesday, and they are right at the front of the list. So Dodger baseball, a lot to cover, a lot to talk about there. Terrible news with the Angels. And what a job Ron Washington has done convincing these guys, young team, young lineup, kind of young pitching staff, convincing them, focus today. Don't worry about last night, John. Don't think ahead to next weekend, sir. Focus tonight. Angels have won 7 of 9.
Wow.
It's like the 3rd time this season they've had this spurt. And you look at the roster and say, how the hell are they doing this? Ron Washington's sales pitch, just a focus. Now, the negative to the Angels, Mike Trout comes off the disabled list. First game back with the Angels, 2 innings, pull him. Knee flares on him, re-injures the knee. Now, he had played rehab games at Salt Lake City and had no problems. He comes back for the Halos, goes 2 innings, and they have to take him out of the game. And they're doing exams again. And maybe it's too much too soon physically. He's been out for such a long period of time. And the other negative, aside from the flare-up with Mike Trout, is the reality that trade deadline's coming, and they're shopping a lot of guys. It kind of looks like they're going to dump more contracts, which means I don't even know how they're going to put a 25-man roster on the field. So, John, that's good news, bad news. Do you believe in the Padres? Do you believe in the Dodgers and all the adversity? And what do you believe about the way the Angels are conducting their business?
I know. I think Mike Trout and Kawhi Leonard must be going to the same restaurant and eating the food there. It's killing both of their knees. What a shame for the Angels to finally get him back, and he messes up the knee again. Is he going to really ever have a healthy season in his future?
He just keeps having these bad breaks. I mean, the knee, prior to that was a calf. Prior to that was an ankle. Prior to that was a back. He just, and it's from a guy who plays hard. I mean, these are not weird injuries. These are injuries when you're on the field.
Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Dodgers, the pitchers are coming back, but I think is Kershaw starting tonight?
Yes.
So we're going to find out how he does. I think I read that they picked up Jordan Lyles, on the free agent market just for depth piece. The Dodgers are just going to be the Dodgers. We know they're going to be good, but the Padres are rolling right now. You got to love it. Coming out of this All-Star break, they took 2 or 3 of Cleveland.
A light hitting team, no batting order.
But they won 2 out of 3, so that's good.
And they beat Washington's AAA lineup.
They swept them.
It sounds like you're ordering World Series tickets from left field again.
No, I'm just happy.
Okay.
I'm
excited.
Stay. Yeah.
For Cease.
And now it's for Cease for sure. And the Padres are back into the wild card slot if the season ended today. So all good here.
And the trading deadline's Tuesday, and somebody's going to make a deal, and then somebody else is going to make a deal, and a third guy's going to make a deal. These dominoes are going to start falling quick.
Yeah. And the Padres and Dodgers and Angels could see a lot of roster turnover.
Okay. Fans Forum chat box is open. No excuses accepted. Looking for baseball fans. Do you believe in what you've seen with the Padres? Do you believe in the Dodgers, considering they're still in first place with all this bloody adversity? And do you believe that the Angels and the sales pitch that Ron Washington has done on this young team? Some baseball fan out there, jump on board into the chat box and join us, because Fans Forum comes up at the end of the podcast. Now, I've alluded to next Tuesday. John, punch this next note up on the board. You built this. This is what is out there. Let the trading begin. I'm going to run through hot names from each of these teams who could be, probably will be traded by Tuesday. Detroit Tigers, number one. I'm kind of surprised. I picked the Tigers to be the surprise team in the American League, and they kind of faltered. They did not hit very well. They are shopping the ace of their pitching staff, Tariq Skubal. He's got 13 or 14 wins. It sure appears they're going to move him, and what's a shocker is he's got 2 years control still left on his contract. Skubal and Jack Flaherty, former Cardinal right-hander who's been beset by injuries, has pitched really well in a bounce-back season. If I'm a Detroit fan, I think I'd be pretty peeved that ownership has built this to the point where it looks like it's about to compete for a playoff thing, and now they're going to auction off 2 of the pitchers. White Sox, 27-77 record.
That's brutal.
50 games below 500. They might be threatening the all-time worst New York Mets record of 40-120 back in the 1960s. I think the White Sox are going to trade Luis Robert, the center fielder, and they're going to trade Garrett Crochet, who's having a mystical season. Even though they still control those guys for a couple more years, White Sox are in total rebuild mode, so keep an eye on that. The weird ones in Toronto, it's like they got everybody on the trade block. I mean, this team is underachieved. It's not hitting. Its pitching's been sporadic. They're talking about now trading frontline starters Chris Bassett and Kevin Gausman. Bo Bichette, the shortstop, though, he's hurt right now, still on the trade block. Rumors won't go away. Vlad Guerrero's on the trade block. And Yusei Kikuchi, starting pitcher, on the trade block. It's like we might wake up Wednesday morning, won't be anybody left in Toronto because they're shopping everybody. Cubs have given up. They've been beset by injuries. They've decided we're not going to be a buyer. We're going to be a seller. And the name that they're shopping, and he's probably going to move, is Jameson Taillon, one of their starting pitchers. Texas, wrecked by injuries during the course of the season. They've got some of their injured everyday players back. They don't have all their pitching back. That's probably a thing next spring. I don't know that Nathan Eovaldi is going to survive next week in Texas. He's being shopped too. Angels, Carlos Estevez, closer. I keep hearing the Yankees are desperate for pitching. Yankees are 15-25 over the last 40.
That's incredible.
Incredibly bad. Holy cow. And they just got swept by the Mets in Yankee Stadium, 4 games. Think people in the borough a little pissed? Yeah. Anyhow, the Angels are shopping Carlos Estevez, Tyler Anderson, the journeyman pitcher, and now they're put their former number 1 draft pick, Reed Detmers, on the trade block. He looked like an ace last year. He started this season 3-0, and he's not pitched well at all. He's back at Salt Lake City. He's got an ERA in the 7s. Evidently, they're possibly going to move him. Rockies logo is up there. That involves Calvin Quantrill. Miami is shopping Jesus Luzardo, starting left-handed pitcher, and it looks like they're going to move the second baseman center fielder, Jazz Chisholm. And Tampa Bay is shopping Randy Arozarena, the center fielder, and Zach Eflin, their starting pitcher. But I've heard the big issue with the Rays is they're refusing to pick up any of the remainder of Eflin's contract. And he's got a $15 million deal this year, $18 million next season. And clubs want Tampa. If we're taking Eflin, you got to pay some of the salary, and Tampa Bay's not in favor of that. So those are the names in the news, and that's a lot of names, most of them pitchers, and we know how many teams think they're still in the pennant race. So there's going to be transactions. And I think somebody's going to be the first one to pull the trigger between now and Tuesday. I don't know whether it's going to be the Dodgers or it's going to be the Yankees, but one of them does something, and that domino comes off the board, then all the other dominoes are going to fall fairly quickly. So, John, from left field, you be the general manager. Tell me what you think is going to happen.
Well, it's interesting names, these pitchers, but are any of them like legit number 1 starters?
Skubal, Detroit.
You think he is? Really?
Oh, he's 13 or 14 wins. Yeah.
Okay. But Crochet isn't.
Well, Crochet's a converted reliever is having a mystical season. The big thing with Crochet is, has he hit his innings limit already? And we're getting to August 1st. So how do you use Crochet? You have to be careful with Crochet. But he's not had recent arm problems, and he is a power pitcher, and he's done very well in just an absolute miserable situation.
I'm waiting to see if some big name surprises us, as we get closer and closer to the deadline. Because a lot of times there's always a Verlander or a Scherzer or one of those legit number ones.
Legit veteran guys. But the problem is virtually all those veteran guys are hurt. And they can't trade with the hope that somebody gets healthy for the last 8 weeks of the season. So those are the hot names on the trade board. We'll be talking more about it. I bet there'll be a deal or two between now and we rejoin you on Monday for the Monday bonus podcast. So those are all the big baseball stories. We get to halftime. Our Thursday podcast is brought to you by North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. We're all going to need help with our eyes. Whether you need a vision test, whether you need to be checked for new glasses, maybe an adjustment with contact lenses, maybe you want to buy sunglasses that have a prescription, I'm going to recommend you go to North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. And it does not matter where you live in San Diego County, because they have 3 locations to serve you. And these are pros. These are the people that helped me with my situation. And my situation was pretty significant as it relates to glaucoma and a cataract. I got it taken care of. I can see clearly now. I don't look good, but I can see clearly now. But I'm just telling you, free eye exams through the end of the month. If you don't have an optometrist or you're looking for somebody different, go where I went. Really pleased. North. And a reminder, when you call North County Eye Center, make sure you tell them Hacksaw sent me from his podcast. That's how you qualify to get the free eye exam. We're also brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. These people have been in business for almost a century. I discovered them a couple of years ago. I bought windows. I bought doors. I was pleased. And John Riley, if you walk through this castle, he's got all types of stuff from Dixieline Lumber. You like the product. You like the people.
Yeah, great people. You can trust them. They've been in San Diego for over 100 years. Lumber, building materials, doors, windows, kitchen, bath, decking. If you're a homeowner or a contractor, they've got it all.
You got projects. They got materials. You're looking for ideas. They can be your consultant. These people, Dixieline Lumber. Couple of reminders as we go to the second half of our Thursday podcast. X marks the spot. We are all on social media. I am asking you to become part of my Twitter all-star team. X marks the spot. I want you to follow me because I put a lot of stuff on Twitter day in, day out. Just type my name in there, at Hacksaw1090, at Hacksaw1090. Follow us. Appreciate it. Go to my website. What are you doing tomorrow morning? Before you have the first cup of coffee and breakfast, go to my website so you read what I write, because then you get all the stories of the world of sports. It's LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Even this guy out in left field reads my website. But to do that, and when you bring it up on the homepage, there's an orange box in the upper right-hand corner. Fill that out. Get on our mailing list. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. And John, just exploding how many people are watching us on live stream. Tell them when we're done what happens.
Okay. Well, when we're done, Fans Forum happens, and everyone's jumping on board. A lot of Padre fans fired up about Dylan Cease and everything going on with the Padres right now. We've got a lot of guys that want to talk football, NBA. If you got a question or comment, just type it in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube.
And that's Fans Forum right at the end of this podcast. Want you to share, tell everybody what we're doing. Want you to subscribe. That way you will get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel. And I promise I won't let John post stuff at 2:30 in the morning because I don't want ding, 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 ding to go off on your cell phone while you're asleep. But we do post all hours of the day. John, we go to the second half and training camps have opened in the NFL and glory, hallelujah. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, Jerry World and Bill Belichick, the hoodie. What do you got, Lee?
Big story here that starts. Jerry Jones, he's got contract problems with his franchise as it relates to Dak Prescott, as it relates to Micah Parsons, as it relates to the holdout wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. And Jerry's got a court case that has finally been removed from the court docket. Jerry had an affair with a woman in Arkansas and fathered a child. As part of the agreement, Jerry funded the child's education. The woman is 28 years of age and very successful in her career. They had an agreement about the financial structure. She went back on the agreement. She filed a major lawsuit, demanded a paternity test, blood samples, etc., DNA. Jerry filed a counter lawsuit that she violated the contract that he had developed with her and the mother when she was an infant. And Jerry stood up to everything that was in the agreement. They went to court yesterday. The judge threw it all out. Both sides agreed to drop the lawsuits against each other. The judge said the agreement to pay for the education and the lifestyle of the young girl as she grew up, Jerry Jones met every aspect of it, and the woman has no right to try to seek more money or order him to a paternity test. So Jerry Jones cleared of that controversy, but that was a black cloud that was hanging over him all over the place.
Wow. I mean, that's, well, Jerry hooking up with young women, and this is what happens here. But, if there was a contract in place in the beginning, well, then, yeah, I mean, you can't renege on the deal. She should have asked for everything in the beginning.
Yeah. Second item, the other personality we're talking about, the hoodie. Bill Belichick was offered the assistant head coaching job and defensive coordinator's job by the San Francisco 49ers after he went through the divorce proceedings with the New England Patriots. He thought about it and said, no, I want to be a head coach. I don't want to be an assistant. It would have been interesting if Kyle Shanahan would have given Belichick free rein. Those are your players on the defensive side of the football. Those are your meeting rooms. Do what you want to do. I'm not sure Kyle would have done that. Maybe that's the rationale. Bill didn't want to be second in command. Bill might have a head coaching job because there are rumors everywhere about coaches on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. Anybody in the NFC East is in trouble. Mm-hmm. This is interesting. So you got the New York Giants, who have had miserable player personnel acquisitions, decisions, injuries, salary cap issues. Brian Daboll's in big trouble as a Giants coach. New York Jets have not been to the playoffs under the firebrand that is Robert Saleh. Now, granted, they do have Aaron Rodgers, but if Saleh does not have a good season, which means playing in January, he could be gone. And Nick Sirianni had an ugly end to the Philadelphia Eagles season after a year and a half of really good football. And the feeling is he's in real jeopardy. And he blamed all of his assistant coaches because they turned that staff upside down. So the hoodie might get his choice to coach in the Northeast. Giants, Jets, Eagles. And that's maybe one of the reasons he didn't take the 49ers job. Reaction to what befallen the ex-New England coach and what might happen to the ex-New England coach?
Well, the question I have is Tom Brady part of the package? Because without Brady, Bill Belichick's record is under 500.
I concur with you wholeheartedly. No, Brady is going to be an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So you don't think Belichick carries any legitimacy anymore?
Well, again, he was always a defensive mind. You kind of wonder if the game had passed him by because of all the innovation in the sport, but then he would always pull a rabbit out of his hat. But he had TB12. So as long as he does have a good quarter, even with Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he could be successful in New York. He failed with the Jets before.
Okay. He failed in Cleveland too. Did not fail when he had Tom Brady. So you don't buy into the sales pitch of the hoodie.
No. I mean, I like the idea of having him as a defensive coordinator, but if I were Belichick, I wouldn't take that job either. I mean, after all of his success, he's a surefire Hall of Famer.
You mean after all of Tom Brady's success?
Well, he rode the coattails of TB12, but if I were him, man, just get that TV job and just have a great retirement.
Not going to retire, pal. I bet a year from today, if you're still here doing this from left field, ye of little faith, I bet a year from today, he winds up as somebody's head coach, and it might be in the Big Apple.
Well, we thought he was going to go to the Atlanta Falcons.
He
what
had
happened
a deal,
there?
but that deal fell apart at the end, and I think there was some conversation between Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, and Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, about how tough it is to deal with that guy, despite the great success they had in New England, and Arthur Blank stepped away.
Interesting.
Ye of little faith. Okay, we go from that group of NFL stories to the bigger storylines because there's a pile of stuff here to talk about.
Yeah, Cowboys, Niners, Raiders, it's all right here, Lee.
Show me the money. Great headline you got there, John. Let's just run through this really quickly. Dallas has got salary cap issues. CeeDee Lamb has 1 year left on his contract. Budding star. He wants the money right now. He wants $36 million right now, despite one glorious year in Dallas. He's not in camp. He's pissing away $50,000 a day in fines because he's under contract. The collective bargaining agreement, which the union agreed to, this went into effect about 3 years ago because everybody was tired of the holdouts and it was damaging teams and all that. They agreed. If you're under contract, you don't come to camp. You don't show up to do this podcast, pal, $50,000 on you per day.
Per day.
So that taxi meter is running, but the CeeDee Lamb, he's got to be there. I think he'd be stupid enough to sit out for a month and miss all of training camp, which is then going to spill in to the start of the season and forfeit all that money. San Francisco, he's there. He's not practicing. Brandon Ayuk, love me not, who a week ago met with the general manager, John Lynch, and went through the Economics 101 lesson as to why they can't upgrade him right now because they got to sign the quarterback extension. They're trying to make a decision what they do with Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk is staging what the fancy new term in the NFL is hold in. Hold in. Come to camp, take part in the meetings, stand on the sidelines. I'm not going on the field risking injury during preseason camp. Now they're just 2 days in. So the question is, and he's not getting fined because he's there in the meetings and he's part of the team. So
that's what CeeDee Lamb should do.
If he were smart,
yeah,
instead of giving his money away.
Right.
So anyhow, that's the latest with San Francisco and Brandon Ayuk. This is a real shocker to me because I thought this kid was going to be a difference maker. He played for the Cowboys for 4 years. Now he had one major knee injury, but before he got hurt, he was dynamic. His name is Michael Gallup. Used to play at Colorado State. He just walked out on the Raiders. Does not want to play football anymore, and he had just signed a free agent contract. He left Dallas unsigned. Went to the Raiders almost immediately, and I thought, holy cow, what a great option to have on the other side of Devontae Adams and the new tight ends that they brought in, led by Brock Bowers. And he left. Doesn't want to play football anymore. So the Raiders are kind of stunned and shocked with that. Miami, interesting. Tua is conducting a, quote, hold-in. He's in camp. He's only on the field during the walkthroughs. He's not doing 7-on-7 live action pass rush. He's not doing 11-on-11. They're negotiating a contract extension with him. He wants $50 million. He was offered $40. Tyreek Hill isn't in camp. He's not going to walk out. Tyreek Hill wants his contract upgraded. Now, he's got multiple years left on his deal. He wants his contract upgraded from 25, which used to be the high water mark, to more than 36, which is the high water mark that the Minnesota wide receiver Justin Jefferson got. So that one is interesting. LA Rams, they found a way to take care of Matthew Stafford. Now, Stafford's got 3 years left on his deal. $31 million guaranteed this year. There's no guaranteed money next year or the year after. And of course, NFL players are really concerned. If I suffer a catastrophic injury, I can get cut. That's the end of my career, end of my payday. And there was a lot of rumblings that he might not be coming to camp. Well, he came to camp and he met with them, and the agent hammered out incentive clause deal. So if he has another mystical 3,900-yard season, another 33 touchdown season, he's going to get a wad of bonus money. And some of that bonus money is going to kind of go towards what would be a guarantee next season. So the Rams creatively financed and solved that. Cleveland solved their problem with their wide receiver, Amari Cooper. They gave him, I guess the sexy new word in the NFL, aside from hold in, is incentive clauses. They gave him a series of incentive clauses that'll get him, if he has a phenomenal season, to $25 million in the coming season. Jordan Love is in camp, not practicing. Green Bay's trying to get a contract extension done with him. The big sticking point with Jordan Love, who replaced Aaron Rodgers, is he sat there for 3 years and then started the 1 year and really had a good season. But he's a one-year wonder. And he wants to go immediately from $12.5 million to $50. Green Bay's got to juggle the books to make that happen. So, John, show me the money. I just gave you the storylines. Pick a team here. Respond to what you just heard.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire here. So I love these guys. They're all going for, big money. There's a lot of money flowing through the NFL. They've had great seasons. You can't blame the players for having some leverage here and to try to make more money. I mean, most normal people, if they had that leverage at their normal job, they would be doing the same darn thing. But it is all the prima donna athletes. It's all the wide receivers, all the quarterbacks. So it makes it entertaining. The Raiders, though, I thought the Gallup story was weird. I forgot that he was even there. Yeah. And then he stepped down. I mean, the Raiders, you're not sure what to make of them because you wouldn't even know who's going to be their quarterback.
Well, they got two quarterbacks, but neither one of them, I think, is a massive difference maker. They don't have the great running back who went to Green Bay. Josh Jacobs. He's gone. Now, they did get a phenomenal defensive tackle right at the start of free agency in Christian Wilkins, and you put him up front with Max Crosby. I mean, that's going to be a very different defensive football team. But the Raiders have got they got offensive line question marks that only training camp and preseason games will answer. Do they have the right people, the right places? Who's going to be the quarterback? And life after Josh Jacobs, what's that going to be like? So there's a lot of questions, and now you lose. And I thought this kid had really grown a lot with the Cowboys. In fact, I was surprised the Cowboys did not attempt to keep him. But Gallup signs, I thought, great addition. Now he's gone, and he doesn't want to play football anymore. So,
well, games are going to start here real quick, right?
Next Thursday is the Hall of Fame game.
That's what I was thinking, is usually the Hall of Fame game is in July.
Top Bears against Houston Texans.
Okay.
Caleb Williams, debut.
All right, here we go. CJ Stroud, but will we see them in that game? I don't know.
I believe Williams will play only because it's a marketing thing. I don't know how many snaps he'll take, how many series he'll play, but I believe Caleb Williams will start. Okay, so we go from all things NFL. You got an opinion? Feel free to join us in Fans Forum. Do not sit here and just watch us on live stream. We want you to participate. Go into the chat box, ask a question, make a statement about this team, that team, your favorite team. We go from that, college football.
The Big Ten with 18 teams. Lee,
isn't it weird?
That doesn't make any sense.
They had their National Media Day in Chicago. It was just really strange. In the hotel lobby, they had, as the coaches came out of their rooms to go to the meeting rooms and all the press conferences, they walked down this long, dark hallway, and they had the uniforms on mannequins of every team, and the 18 teams. And you walk by and you say, Oregon Ducks, green and gold, Washington Huskies, purple and gold, and obviously Southern Cal, UCLA. So the press conferences were really weird. Unbelievably strange reaction from Lincoln Riley and from Deshaun Foster, USC UCLA head coach. Riley was almost defiant in front of the Big Ten National Media Corps. They threw him every type of fastball, hardball question, a couple more knockdown pitches. What's it going to be like to travel 22,000 miles in 10 weeks? How are you going to hold up to start the season at LSU and at Michigan? How come you lost so many five-star blue-chip recruits who opted out after committing to you? Have you replaced Caleb Williams? What's the storyline with all your wide receivers exiting? And one of the national media guys called what USC football's turned into a disaster. And Link Riley he lost his mind at the podium. He started lecturing the media about who we are and why we have all these new players. And we have an NIL program that is far beyond what anybody else in the world's got, blah, 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 blah. And somebody said, yeah, and you're 18-9 in 2 years, didn't play a lick of defense in 2 years, fired all these coordinators in 2 years. Do you know your record is not any better than the prior coach who was here, Holmes, that they fired? He was defiant. It was strange. I watched some of the video clips. It was really strange. And then there was UCLA's new coach, Deshaun Foster. And you talk about being overwhelmed and intimidated and making a speech with apologies. It was like watching Biden on TV in the debate.
Oh, my God.
Deshaun Foster was public speaking, press conferences, right. Q&A with the media. Mm-hmm. That's part of the job, pal.
Right.
And he had no answers, and he was fumbling answers, and he was stumbling through. He got a little bit better once they got into one-on-ones with some media that he was more confident around. But the thing is, he says, yeah, we got 9 starters on offense returning. And we had to make a lot of radical changes in the transfer portal because we lost a bunch of defensive players, et cetera. But we're confident. And nobody else that I know is confident. And the national media that voted the Bruins to finish 15th in the 18-team Big Ten. 15th. He did talk openly about Eric Bieniemy coming on board as offensive coordinator and how he thinks all that NFL experience, because he's hired a couple of NFL coaches to be his right-hand man. But it was just a strange set of circumstances. Like, he wasn't confident and he was intimidated, and he looked out at the lights, and he couldn't string adverbs and nouns together in sentences until he got off the podium, and then they did some one-on-one scrums, and he was a little bit better, but not a good first impression by either Lincoln Riley or by Deshaun Foster.
Well, the questions that were asked of Riley are fair questions. Every one of those are fair questions. By the way, is Miller Moss still on the Trojans?
6th-year guy. He will be your starting quarterback at LSU and Michigan. How do you think that's going to go?
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's going to be terrific.
Now, he had the phenomenal 6-touchdown game here in the Holiday Bowl. I said, wow, this kid's been sitting for all these times.
So they may have a replacement for Caleb Williams. But Deshaun Foster, I'm trying to remember his background, because I think
great running back.
Yeah, he was a running back for the Texans, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was a great running back at UCLA, and then he came back as an assistant coach.
So he's never been the head coach.
No,
this is probably the first time he's ever been given pressers.
Never been a coordinator.
Yeah, so huge nerves, right? And then it's the Big Ten, and you're the new guy, and they're coming after you. 15th out of 18. That sounds about right for the Bruins.
I wonder what life after Chip Kelly is really going to be like. Oh, by the way, Chip Kelly was there. He's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State.
Oh, that's right.
How did that job transfer go? The wreckage he left behind here.
Yeah.
The way he acted and treated people. My God. So this Big Ten season, you're a college football fan. I think this Big Ten season is just going to be fascinating to watch. So we go to that. If you want to join us on Fans Forum, you got an opinion about Southern Cal or UCLA, or actually Ohio State, and I didn't even mention life after Harbaugh in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan, with all their players gone too. So jump on board into Fans Forum. We go from that. Let's talk something really different.
Yeah, the NBA and TNT and Amazon, there's a lot changing with their TV content.
The only word I can use at this hour is lawyer up, dude. This is going to be nasty. NBA has signed a new $76 billion TV contract, covers 11 years, with ESPN, NBC, and the new third partner is Amazon Prime. I'll be coming over here to watch games on your tube on Amazon Prime.
Right on.
TNT, which had it forever, Sir Charles Barkley's network.
Oh, yeah.
Lost out. TNT says, in our contract, the last contract we had with Adam Silver, our contract gave us a right to match. We are matching what Amazon paid. We get the NBA back. The NBA comes back and says, no, you did not. That clause is only for over-the-air NBA telecasts. You could only match either the mega dollars ESPN paid or what NBC paid. This, Amazon Prime, that's streaming. That's a whole different world, whole different universe. You don't stream on TNT. You can't match that. Lawyer up, baby. this is going to be in court. There's going to be lawsuits. A lot of lawyers are going to make a lot of money. But the NBA is stoic, said they knew that this matching clause in their old contract pertained only to over-the-air, didn't pertain to the creativeness of streaming. Big storyline, pay attention.
Well, it's not over the air. TNT, you can't get it with rabbit ears. I mean, you need a cable TV subscription.
But it's viewed as over the air because it's much like ESPN.
Yeah.
Okay. But streaming is a whole different enchilada.
Yeah, and I think this is all part of, the business of sports trying to reconcile and figure out this new world. But it sounds to me like TNT's getting screwed here. I mean, because it sounds like they had the contract, and you say, "Oh, it's streaming," but it's the broadcast rights. It's the primary broadcast. So,
over-the-air broadcast.
Again, I think I'd love to see how this shakes out. I don't know the detail, but I think TNT's got a legit beef.
As Sir Charles Barkley would probably say, hey, dude, read the fine print. So that's where we are. Lawyer up. This sucker's going to be in a court case. You're an NBA fan, jump on board. By the way, I don't know what happens inside the NBA. There is no TNT partnership now, but I'm sure they're going to wind up somewhere. Could you imagine if Amazon decided to bring on Ernie Johnson, Sir Charles, Kenny Smith, Shaq inside the NBA?
I'm sure some configuration of that will show up at Amazon. Barkley says he's retired. I mean, do you believe that?
It depends what day of the week and which way the wind's blowing.
Right. I mean, there's money on the table. Show me the money.
Okay, we go from the NBA because we do cover all the topics on the table. With apologies in advance, we do a hell of a job in terms of content on this podcast. Hacksaw's headlines off the SportsWire. John, got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, NHL, PGA. Well, I mean, what's going on here? It's Bowman is the GM, right?
Let's start with the NHL Edmonton Oilers. This was a bit of a surprise because Kenny Holland was removed as general manager of the Stanley Cup final Edmonton Oilers the day after they were eliminated in the playoffs. And they started, quote, a search for a new general manager, and they hired Stan Bowman. Stan Bowman is the son of legendary Montreal Canadiens coach and general manager Scotty Bowman. Stan Bowman was with the Chicago Blackhawks, had worked with other clubs, but he was a marquee general manager with the Blackhawks, and he was suspended by the National Hockey League. And what happened was, maybe a decade ago, there was a video assistant coach on the Blackhawks staff who sexually assaulted one of the rookies on the Blackhawks. And the Blackhawks leadership did nothing about it. They did not fire the video assistant coach. There was no legal action until about 5 years ago, and then the player, Chris Beach, filed a lawsuit against the Chicago Blackhawks and won the lawsuit. And Stan Bowman was a general manager. Joel Kenville, whom we've talked about in the past, was a very successful coach. This incident and the story kind of leaked out during the Stanley Cup finals. Chicago was playing in the playoffs, and Bowman took no action. They were too busy. Kenville said, I'm preparing for games here. I can't deal with this. And they ignored it. Well, Beach finally filed the lawsuit. NHL interceded. They suspended Bowman for 3, suspended Kenville, both reinstated about a month and a half ago. Kenville has not interviewed for a head coaching job yet. Bowman got hired immediately with a snap of the fingers. That's quite a story that they moved on him as quickly as they did. He walks into an unbelievably great situation with the Edmonton Oilers. I'm sure some of our O Canada fans probably got something to say there. Let's talk about the tour. We've talked about the phenomenal accomplishments of Xander Schauffele, what he did winning the British Open after winning the PGAs. Big debate going on right now, John. Who's going to be the player of the year? So you got somebody that's won 2 Grand Slams in a couple of months. That's pretty impressive. But over there, you got Scotty Scheffler, who's won a Grand Slam, and by the way, has won 6 tournaments this season. Aside from Xander's 2 Grand Slams, he hadn't won a tournament all year. So now's a big debate in the national media. Xander, based on the 2, or Scheffler, based on the 6, plus the Grand Slam event. Who is the player of the year? Tiger Woods. We've talked about how poorly he's played, why he continues to send himself out to try to play in Grand Slam events. His son, Charlie, tried to qualify for the U.S. National Junior Open. His son is only 15. And Tiger's been featured in videos playing rounds with Charlie, and Charlie's played well. Charlie went out in the first 2 rounds of qualifying and shot 22 over par, or 264 teenagers attempting to qualify in the U.S. junior amateurs. He finished 264th out of 264. Tough day for the kid and for his father. Next topic on the table. Let's talk about soccer. Olympics about to begin. Euro Cup decided a week ago. Copa decided a week ago. Mexico fired its coach again. Mexico's gone back and has hired Spanish coach Javier Aguirre. He'd been there 2 other times, had done some okay things in Mexico. But they hired him to tutor a legendary player that they've also hired as his assistant, quote, coach in waiting. His name is Rafael Marquez, great player in Mexico from back in the day. So they got a new head coach who's been there twice and had moderate success. He's going to spoon feed Marquez to be the next head coach by the next time the World Cup rolls around. That's interesting. And we got the Olympics. We got the Parade of Nations in Paris. It's going to be fascinating. 329 events over the next 19 days. 592 American athletes are going to participate. LeBron James, Coco Gauff are going to carry the American flags during the Parade of Nations on Friday. 10:30 Pacific time tomorrow morning. You want to watch it on NBC. It's going to be fascinating. But what's really going to be great, if I throw these names out to you, it's must-see TV. Find it on whatever network it's on. Katie Ledecky, who's got 10 medals in swimming. Sha'Carri Richardson, America's great female sprinter. America's legendary 100-meter, 200-meter sprinter, Noah Lyles. The phenomenal comeback, physically and emotionally, by Simone Biles in gymnastics. That's worth watching. And then you got Team USA men and women's basketball. Team USA soccer team got beat by France yesterday. Their roster's composed of under 23 players. They got beat 3-0. They were in it to the 71st minute, and it kind of unraveled. Team USA soccer team playing right now against Zambia. So there's so many cool things about the Olympics with the marquee names that we're going to pay attention to. So, John, I threw a lot there, a lot of breaking news. Go ahead, give me an opinion.
I'll give you an opinion. I think Xander Schauffele has to be the player of the year here because he won the 2 majors. And by the way, he didn't get in trouble with the law like Scheffler did. So I think you can make a solid case for Schauffele. And sure, he hasn't won any of the normal events on the PGA Tour, but he's always been right there.
FedEx Cup is about to begin. Those are the 3 big money end of season tournaments. If Xander wins one of those, because those are all double points also in addition to massive prize money, or if Scheffler continues to wheel and deal, I think whoever comes out of the FedEx Cup tournaments here right at the end of the season, probably the one that's going to win it.
Yeah, that's a good call. I like that. And then, the Olympics are great. I always look forward to that. I mean, it's good stuff. The Oilers and Bowman, because you had talked about the coach, was it Kenville, right?
Joel Kenville.
And so he is still suspended.
No, he's been reinstated. Nobody's touched him yet.
No,
he got reinstated right at the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs while there were all these coaching jobs open. I think the guy should be coaching. The guy, he paid a terrible price. This was all, quote, indirectly around him. These were decisions made by Stan Bowman and the people above them. I mean, the Blackhawks got stripped of draft picks, got a massive, maybe a half $500 million fine for not taking action on behalf of Chris Beach with this video coach that sexually assaulted him. I think Kenville was more an innocent victim, and this had to be solved by the people above him. It's not that Beach was a player. Beach was a practice guy on the Black Aces, which meant he practiced, but he never suited up in the Stanley Cup final. So I think Kenville was guilt by association, and I can't believe he still doesn't have a head coaching job.
Well, I think this is definitely failed leadership.
Yes.
Because when something like this severe happens, I don't care if you're in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have to temporarily hit the pause button and handle the crisis. And they didn't do that.
Well, Bowman didn't do it.
Right. So, yeah.
Those guys are out of hockey for 3 years, so he got reinstated.
Well, he paid the price, right? Yeah. I think a 3-year suspension sounds about right.
And the other factor is the NHL mandated that Kenville, another assistant coach, and Stan Bowman go into counseling programs, and all 3 of them did exclusively. That's what they've spent the last 2.5 to 3 years doing, was interacting with programs that would help them with counseling, help them to understand what had happened. And all three of them did it. That's why they were finally reinstated. I just can't believe Kenville has not been hired. Okay, those are the breaking stories off the SportsWire. All right, we're going to go to Fans Forum almost immediately. Just a reminder, this podcast is brought to you by North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido, offering you free vision tests now. Just make sure you call. Doesn't matter where you live in the county, you can get to one of the three offices. Call and tell them, Hacksaw sent me. Talked about you guys on the podcast. And by North County Eye Center and Dixieline Lumber. You get projects, they got materials. You want ideas? These people will help you at Dixieline Lumber. John, ready, set, go.
Okay, let's kick it off with John. He goes, I'm on the Metro after leaving the game in D.C. The Padres sure have the Nationals number. Washington had just swept the Reds before the Padres visited. Bet the Padres wish they could face Washington's pitching every day, and the Nats are glad they won't see the Padres until next season.
Dylan Cease, just absolutely amazing. I mean, what he has accomplished now in this last three starts, one hitter, no hitter, and just dominant, just phenomenally dominant. 30 strikeouts, 2 hits allowed in his last 30 innings. I mean, that's just phenomenal. And he had to talk his way into the 8th inning, and in the 9th inning, he had to tell Mike Schilt, I am staying in this damn game. And Schilt let him do it, and he got through the 8th, and then he breezed through the 9th. I wondered in that 9th inning if somebody's going to lay a bunt down and try to break up the no-hitter by making somebody come off the mound and throw the ball out.
Yeah, what was that? That was Kurt Schilling and Ben Davis. Wasn't that
way back in the day?
Yeah, and he bunted to break up a no-hitter. Is that Bush League? And I thought it was great.
It broke the code.
Screw the code. You know, and it's not just Dylan Cease. I mean, Randy Vasquez pitched really well.
Padres have gotten 4 great starts in a row. Who are they doing it against?
But still, it's not like they're playing the Marlins or the White Sox. I mean, the Nationals
pretty close to that.
They're in the mix for the wild card. So you got to give it up. Props to the Padres.
I will say this: John is from the District of Columbia. Riley and I have talked back and forth about the city current uniforms and how I dislike a large number of them. I think the Padres uniforms with all the colors, the rainbow sherbet uniform, as I call it, it's grown on me. Washington's city current jersey today they wore was really cool. It's got the silhouette of the Capitol, and the block W on it. I thought that was pretty cool. I can't stand Pittsburgh's uniforms, Cleveland's uniforms. I hate the Dodgers city current jersey. I don't freaking understand half the uniforms and why they design them that way. If you got a logo that fits, something historical that defines your city, like the wife is a pirate fan.
Mm-hmm.
What's the logo? The old pirate head.
Oh yeah,
the Jolly Roger.
Yeah.
Why is that not your city current uniform logo? You wear it on the breast pocket. Big picture of the old Jolly Roger Buccaneer. Why would you not have that rather than PGH?
I like it. I mean, these City Connect jerseys just give you a different view. And granted, it is all marketing. I mean, they just want to sell jerseys and sell all this other stuff. Now, the Nationals, I'm trying to remember the uniform they were wearing today. Is it the gray one? It had the cherry blossoms on it too?
No, it's a white one with colored sleeves, and it just had the nation's capital, the silhouette of the Capitol building.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, there's a lot of chaos going in that Capitol building, but that's good. I mean, I like it when cities and their name reflect the city. Like, why in the hell are pirates in Pittsburgh? I mean, there's no, pirate ships that are going down the Allegheny.
Were you there? Did you know? Can you verify that?
I don't know. I mean, but I think they just picked the pirates because it starts with a P and you get the alliteration. The Nationals. It's class. It's a good looking jersey.
We move on.
Let's go here to Robert. Where is it? There he is. Robert says, hi, Lee, big fan since 690. With all the hard throwers ending up on the DL, wouldn't it be advisable to listen to Norm Sherry's comment back in 1961 to a Jewish left-hander? Control over speed.
He's talking about Norm Sherry talking to Sandy Koufax. Sandy Koufax, of course, had elbow problems, arthritis, and he just walked away from baseball after 9 years, maybe 5 of the most dominant years, 6 of the most dominant years we ever saw, and he walked away from baseball. And, we talked in our headline segment, Dodgers just lost another pitcher, Landon Knack, one of the really big physical throwers. He's having elbow surgery. John, he is the 50th pitcher since spring training, major league and top prospect. 50 have undergone a surgery this season since the end of February.
It's an epidemic. We covered that before. That's incredible. By the way, I love seeing a guy named Knack as a pitcher. I just think of My Sharona back in the late 70s.
Don't do this cultural junk on me.
I won't. All right. Let's go here to Jason. Hey, great decision, Schilt, unlike Tingler, who pulled Blake Snell when he was in the same position a few years ago.
Well, you've got to make a tough call on how many pitchers you're going to let your guy throw, especially if he's a real power ball guy. And both Snell and Cesar, had he walked a batter, I think in the 8th, had he had a stressful 8 or 9 pitch batter, he probably would have pulled him. If he'd given up a hit, I definitely would have pulled him, because as tough a competitor as Cease is, and he does throw a lot of pitches, and he's such a power guy. Once you get beyond 104, 105, that's a gray area you don't want to go into very often. And I think he wound up either 110 or 112, which is probably the max limit. But he coasted in the 8th, and there was no stressful at bat, and he buzzed through the 9th pretty quickly. It was against a AAA lineup, but at the end of the day, boys, he strung together 3 phenomenal starts in a row.
Oh, it's great. And I think for the players in the clubhouse, this has to be a galvanizing moment, a lot of positive energy. And then having your guy being a tough guy and saying, no, damn it, I'm going back out there on the mound and I'm going to get this thing. So they're on a 5-game winning streak right now. So hopefully they can keep it going. Where are they going next?
Baltimore.
Oh, that's right. Baltimore.
First place Orioles, then home, first place Dodgers. Like
Yeah.
I said, the next 6 or 7 days will probably define how good they're going to be in terms of setting the table for the playoff race.
Well, no doubt. Yeah, there'll be a good measuring stick. Hey, did you see that bobble that Xander Bogaerts made that Merrill ended up catching?
Yeah.
That was something. That was special. Just little things like that in no-hitters are always great.
And what he did in the 8th inning with the ball he knocked down, and I didn't know if he was going to be able to grab it like a bar of soap, and he still made the play and got the guy out by the snap of the fingers.
But that would have been an error, not a hit, right? Right?
Well, the ball was hit hard. Okay, we move on.
Let's go to Angel. Hey, it says the break has helped the Dodgers a lot, and a big test tonight with Kershaw returning the Dodgers should be okay.
It's a little too early. I got to believe Kershaw is going to be on a pitch count. If he has any stressful innings where he's going to have, if he has to throw 25 or 30 pitches in an inning, they're not going to keep him out there very long. I think they're going to babysit him through the first couple of starts. But obviously, the mileage they've gotten out of some of their kid pitchers has been pretty impressive. And they're getting guys back. Now Buehler has just been sent to Oklahoma City. Graterol was sent to Oklahoma City. These guys are all in rehab assignments. Joe Kelly was just activated. So they're getting some of these guys back, and only time will tell. But, Glasnow pitched well against San Francisco till the bullpen imploded at the end. So we still got 50 games, 55 games left. Still a lot of baseball to be played. Dodgers have got to get this rotation back in order. And they got rid of James Paxton, which kind of shocked everybody. But if they DFA'd Paxton after he won his last start, he was 8-2. But if you do a deep dive into his statistics, his ERA was like 4.43. He walked a lot of batters, a lot of hard hit balls. So all the analytics said this guy's living on borrowed time. And now they swallowed $13 million because he reached all of his incentive clauses because he pitched so well the first half of the season, in terms of innings, number of starts, what his record was. So they're eating $13 million. And now they DFA'd him, which meant they have 10 days to either trade him or release him. He's not going to the minors. I hear he's going to Boston, and the Red Sox are going to send something to the Dodgers, a young prospect or something, because Boston's desperately trying to stay in the race. But at the end of the day, these were not what I'd call quality starts. They were kind of, can I survive into the 5th inning and walk a lot of guys? And they're hitting rocket shots off me. And yeah, I'm 8-2 because thank you, Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. So I was a little surprised they moved him, but they obviously know where their other pitchers are in terms of on the rehab road back.
I agree with the Paxton thing. When he was doing so well, I was like, how in the hell is this happening? I didn't expect it. But let's just take a snapshot right now in time. What is the Dodgers starting rotation?
You would ask me that off the top of my head.
Well, you know everything.
Well, I know everything, but my brain's a little fried right now.
Well, so there's Kershaw, and who? I mean, because and then is Glasnow back?
Glasnow pitched last night.
Yeah.
So that's one.
Yeah.
Kershaw kind of becomes 1A.
Yeah.
Okay. Yamamoto is about to go on rehab, but that could be 2 or 3 starts before he gets back. And then, just whatever kid pitchers available, they keep bringing them up and back from Oklahoma City just to try to hang in there. So,
well, one of them's done really well. Is it Gavin Stone? Is that the one?
He's 9-3.
Yeah. So
nobody expected that. I don't think they expected that, and yet he's hung in there. But he's kind of hitting a wall in terms of innings and pitches thrown. So I don't know what the last 5 weeks of the season for Gavin Stone are going to be like.
Yeah, so imagine how these next 2 months are going to unfold for the Dodgers. I mean, they're counting on these guys coming back, but they may not be, functional. I mean, it still could be a cluster in September for the Dodgers pitching.
Even if they trade for Derek Skubal, the ace of the Detroit Tigers pitching staff,
that could change things.
Things are going to change between now and Tuesday for a couple of these pennant contenders. Right. Now, I don't know who's the first one that dives into the water. The Orioles are after Skubal. The Yankees are after Skubal. The Dodgers are talking to a lot of people about a lot of different people, but they're after Skubal. Somebody's going to get the Detroit Tiger ace, and that's going to set off all types of chain reaction, other deals pretty doggone quickly. I think there'll be an additional name arm in the Dodger rotation by the time we have breakfast on Wednesday.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the Dodgers are all in this year. Win now.
How dare you agree with me from left field? Next question.
Okay, let's go down here to Chris. Oh, no, let's go to Greg first. And Greg says, Lee, what do you remember as the main weakness the Chargers had in that Super Bowl against the Niners?
Steve Young.
Yeah.
It was interesting because that was such a devastating loss the way it occurred. Steve Young threw 6 touchdown passes. First 2 possessions, San Francisco scored 2 touchdowns on bombs in the first 6 plays of the game. And I'll never forget, Bobby Ross told me a couple days after we got back from the Super Bowl, he said, we thought we had diagnosed everything they were going to do. They went back on video in the 2 weeks leading up to Super Bowl Sunday after the Chargers had beaten the Steelers in Pittsburgh AFC Championship game. They reviewed 18 49er games, 18 different 49er games over 2 years. And they charted every formation and every tendency they had. That's why they have computers. These guys behind the scenes, they work on us all the time. And Bobby said, we charted every formation the 49ers used over 18 games over a 2-year period. And they went into that game and they saw 6 formations in the first 2 possessions they'd never seen. Touchdown pass, touchdown pass. They'd lined up Jerry Rice as a running back. They lined up Brent Jones as a fullback. He was a star tight end. Mm-hmm. They ran Ricky Waters, the running back, out as a slot receiver. And I'll never forget, I think it was the 3rd play of the game. And they come to line of scrimmage, and I'm calling the play, and I see Ricky Waters in the slot. Guy identified him with his number, 32. I see Jerry Rice line up as an I-back. And I'll never forget looking to the line of scrimmage as Young is going through his pre-snap reads, and I see Junior Seau turning and trying to relocate the secondary because of the formation.
Yeah.
They had never seen this. And Young takes 3 steps back, throws a slant pass, touchdown San Francisco. Jerry Rice just boom, boom. And the Chargers secondary was just paralyzed. And they got hit by a bolt of lightning. Next possession, exact same thing happened. They ran more stuff they had never shown before. They gave up another touchdown pass. So now it's 14-0, just like that. And they kick off to us, and our kick return guy, I don't know if it was Darian Gordon, kid out of Stanford, took it back for a touchdown, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I said, okay, we're back in the game. No, not. Kickoff, they take it back for a touchdown. Game over. And poor Stan Humphries, they were running uphill the rest of the night, and they moved the ball some with Natron Means. They ran it, and I said, okay, they're going to be back in the game. But you got to score touchdowns, and they were settling for field goals. And then guys were wide open. He threw a touchdown pass to a wide receiver, Mark Say, wide open, dropped it. They just lost opportunities, and it was going to be a shootout, and they couldn't stay in the shootout. And at the end of the day, it was 49-26. So it's weird. I think back to that. I wish I don't have a copy. I've told John the story. I don't have a copy of that game on video. I taped it at home. My wife taped it at home, and I didn't want to watch it. So finally, in late February on a rainy Sunday night, I'm going to pop this thing in. I want to see this because I'm big on looking at formations and how the hell did this play develop. And I taped it. I punched it up to watch it, and I didn't get the Super Bowl game because my kids had recorded Sesame Street over the Super Bowl game. So I've never seen the full video of the game, but that's how the Bolts got beat. Washington was freaking brilliant, and NFL Films, they taped the game. They taped the play-by-play of the local broadcasters. And I said in the fourth quarter of that game when it was just totally out of control, I turned to my broadcast partners, Jim Laslovic and Pat Curran, and said, you know what? If I wasn't the voice of the Chargers, I could really enjoy this game because that's one of the greatest offenses of all time I've ever seen. And NFL Films took that quote and put it into the Super Bowl highlights. So it was really funny. So it was a tough night at the office, tough game. I'm going to have to go back. I have to find the video of the game so I can look at how it developed. It's just those things flashed into my mind when Greg just brought that up. What do you remember? I remember how the utter confusion in the back of the minds of these guys in the secondary and how they got hit by a bolt of lightning and they just emotionally just were not the same team after that. And Steve Young was brilliant.
It was an incredible game. And just everything leading up to the Super Bowl in San Diego, the energy around the Chargers, the Pittsburgh game. I mean, there were so many great moments.
The party in the rain at the stadium after that game on late Sunday night. Oh, it was so cool.
But it's just so San Diego. It's like when the Chargers finally get to the Super Bowl, they run into a buzzsaw of the Niners on one of their best years ever. Same thing happened to the Padres with the 84 Tigers and the 98 Yankees, so it's just, and then, San Diego State, gets dumped in the NCAA championship game or gets that fake flop, from Kemba Walker in the Sweet 16.
I'm glad you don't hold any grudges.
There's just all the San Diego sports curses. And it's just, I just want to live and enjoy a major sports championship here in San Diego before I die.
Okay. Well, I always tell people, and people always bring it up to me about the Super Bowl run with the Bolts and how good it was. And I said, yeah, the game was the game. And that was a tough night at the office, but the journey to get to the Super Bowl. And John and I have done a special podcast, and we're going to run it during the football season about that mystical, magical San Diego Chargers season, because there's a lot of cool storylines that probably people have forgotten that Voice of the Chargers hasn't forgotten. And it makes all the ache and the pain of what happened on Super Bowl Sunday go away, because then you think about all the really cool things that happened, especially in Pittsburgh. And my wife would not talk to me when I got home. She's a Steeler fan. It's just unbelievable.
Three River Stadium.
Yes.
On the AstroTurf. I can just still see the visual of the turf in that stadium.
And the terrible towels.
And
the jaw. Bill Cowher just looking like he'd kill somebody out there.
Yeah, and Pupino with the coconut in the touchdown.
After the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, that was terrific.
So, like I said, it brought a smile back to your face, despite what Steve Young did on Super Bowl Sunday night. Next question.
Okay, let's go to Chris. Saw unbelievable comments by Colin Cowherd this morning, was talking about the Chargers this upcoming season, and I quote, "Complain all you want, but they have a pretty solid ownership. Incendiary opinion, react."
Cancel his show. God, what's he talking about? What's he been drinking? I mean, everybody's excited about the arrival of Harbaugh, and rightfully so. That's what his resume says, success everywhere. But getting from point A, I'm here and this is my resume, to point B, we're going to be a playoff team or maybe a Super Bowl team, that's a long distance. They just have a lot of questions that need to be answered. It obviously starts with the skill people around a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert. And it revolves around, you guys haven't shown any degree of toughness defensively, and you fired your top 3 defensive tackles. What do you got to replace them? So there's a bunch of questions that need to be in. Ownership, my God, please don't bring up the word ownership as it relates to they got anything to do. They finally made a decision, and they paid an enormous amount of money to get a really, really good coach. Are they a playoff team, ready to be a playoff team? That's what 7 weeks of training camp and the start of the regular season is going to show us.
Colin Cowherd. When I think of him, I remember he made a comment a number of years ago. He goes, yeah, MLB is like a regional sport. Everyone cares about the Red Sox, Yankees, maybe the Cubs, Dodgers, but everything else is just regional. We care about the teams in the big markets. Well, now he's pumping up the Chargers. So I wonder if maybe it's because they're playing in LA. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be, but Dodgers, they're drawing 4 million every season. Hey, dude, you ever been Petco Park and see what this experience has now become in the Gaslamp Quarter? Colin Cowherd, just muzzle yourself, please.
He's been making some political posts, some videos as well.
Oh, him and Stephen A. Smith just driving me out of my mind. But that's okay because I've done some of that. I've written some one-man's opinion columns that weren't very well received, including people in this room. But go ahead.
Okay, let's go to the next guy here. Yin says, come to the CFL, Bill. Job opening in Edmonton as head coach.
Oh, thank you on the O Canada Network for Edmonton Eskimos. Once upon a time, and now they're the Edmonton Elks. They were a really good franchise and have gone through some really tough times. But it's no different in Canada than it is down here. If you don't have quarterbacks, your franchise is in big trouble. And Edmonton went through a bad stretch where they didn't have quarterbacks. I want to say I don't know if the number is correct in my brain, but I want to say they lost maybe 15 home games in a row over a couple of years span. Yeah, they've been really, really down. And they were more competitive last year. But you got to have QBs. You got to keep your quarterbacks healthy. And that's a big issue in the Canadian League. And I don't understand the whole rationale. There's so many quarterbacks this side of the border and why you can't lure some of them there. But all these guys think, well, I'm going to be a third quarterback and I'm going to be on the developmental squad. You're probably never going to get a chance to play. And yeah, you make a little bit more money on the developmental than you would in Canada. But geez, what Doug Flutie did, what Joe Theismann did, what Warren Moon did, going to Canada and the success they had. I mean, it's out there and it's an opportunity. And some guys go up there and they just love it. They never, ever come back. But got to have a quarterback in Canada. And the Edmonton Elks, strange name. They don't, that was a political thing. We can't have them called the Eskimos anymore. They've been called the Eskimos since the 1920s when it was a rugby team. Mm-hmm. You got to have a quarterback in the CFL.
You can imagine Bill Belichick in the CFL with all those different rules. Would that be like a personal challenge that he would embrace? Or do you think it would just overwhelm him?
Pay me the money. He's an NFL coach. He's not going up there.
Yeah, I know. It's
nobody goes up there.
But so they were, it was a politically correct thing, like the Cleveland Indians changing their name or the Redskins. Yeah.
It made no sense to me at all because there was heritage, there was legacy there. It's Edmonton Eskimos.
Yeah, well, sooner or later they're going to come down on the Oilers too, right? Because people are fossil fuel and they're all upset about that. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Manny. He says, will WBD take the NBA to court for the last TV rights package? Who will win? And why did the NBA pick Amazon over WBD?
Potential. Whole world's on streaming. Young world is on streaming. They believe that's where the money is. I mean, the price tag, I think Amazon paid $1.8 billion of the 3 contracts they signed with ESPN, NBC. That was the lowest tiered. But as Charles Barkley would say, dude, read the fine print. You don't have the right to match something creatively done. It's like the NFL and the antitrust lawsuit. We have the right to creatively put together unique and different packaging, and that's why Sunday Ticket became a big issue, and that's why they were in court over that. I don't know. The fine print said over-the-air broadcasting. Well, this is not over-the-air. This is streaming. Sir Charles, read the damn fine print.
Yeah, read the fine print. But I've got to believe that Ernie Johnson and all those guys, they're going to move over there.
I concur.
Yeah, they absolutely have to, because everyone loves all 4 of those guys for different reasons. So we'll see how this plays out. But, I'm generally a proponent of all this going to streaming because I think it gives us options and we don't necessarily have to sign up for the $200 a month cable, bundle. But I will say this, though, it's just like a week ago, the Padres had a game on Apple TV, and that was kind of a curveball for a lot of the fans.
Yeah, a lot of people were walking around pissed off. They wanted to see that. It was a noontime game, wasn't it? Or 1 o'clock game? Or no, it was a game in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think was it the Friday night game or the Saturday? I don't remember, but it is difficult. We're in this transition right now, going from we were rabbit ear, now then cable, now it's streaming, and it's all fragmented.
And you got to subscribe to a lot of the streaming
Right.
stuff.
But if you, this is my contention, if you a la carte all of those different packages, you're going to still spend way less than you would on a cable TV bundle.
Okay, this guy's anti-cable now. Thank you. Cox Cable's going to turn all lights out of here pretty damn quick. Move on.
Moving on. Okay, yeah, let's go to Steve here. It says, bring back the out-of-town scoreboard.
Well, we've done a lot of different things. We've created a lot of different things. On the out-of-town scoreboard, our podcast is really damn successful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, here, well, Mayor says, best show in sports. They love you, Lee.
It's cool. I mean, we've come across something that's really unique. And developing the fans forum concept, I think, has been just a bonanza for us because it's like talk radio. You get the chance to express an opinion, write an opinion, have me yell at you if you want. I won't hang up on you, but I'll tell you you're full of crap, but that's okay. The fans forum concept is really, really different. And this guy's worked really hard to make sure we stay on the air. We don't have blips that knock us off the air. We've had only, knock on wood, I think we've only had 2 or 3 episodes that got fragmented because of something happened technically.
Yeah, I think we're doing okay there.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. All right, let's go to social media here. Talking a little bit about the Yankees and why people hate them. And this is from Spades Wolf. I don't hate the Yankees. I think the Dodgers are just as detested as the Yankees. 2 teams with great storied histories from 2 of the biggest, most popular cities.
Budget is not a problem. Not in LA and not in New York, and that's probably why. But I'd love to see Major League Baseball change the structure of salary revenue sharing. I mean, if we could have everybody operating with fairly same budgets, you'd have a great product. That's what's made the National Football League such a raging success, is the competitive balance and the revenue sharing. Now, you still got to make the right decision on the quarterback, and you need to hope you don't lose people because of catastrophic injuries. But baseball's not done that. And I think the NBA's got a problem, John. I just don't think it's good to have 5 franchises at the top who can spend and spend and spend because they're in the big markets, and you have 25 franchises that can't compete because they don't have that type of resource in Pittsburgh or Kansas City or Detroit or Baltimore. I don't think that's good for the game. And I know that you're a damn capitalist and you should make as much as you can make. But I also think the overall health of the game is really, really important. And it's worked in the NFL. It should work in baseball. It's definitely worked in the National Hockey League and the NBA too, with their hard caps now and everything that's been put into effect in the last 3 years in basketball. Baseball needs to do a better job to make more money available. By the way, there's a side story. I meant to mention this. It just broke within the hour when we were coming on the air. As we're aware in baseball, these franchises that have been really impacted and hurt by the death of regional sports broadcasts, the collapse of Bally, the collapse of Diamond Sports. Baseball in the union, 24 hours ago after negotiations, has agreed to take a large chunk of the money that's paid by the big cities in luxury tax, to take the Yankee luxury tax money, the Dodger luxury tax, the Red Sox, whoever's over the tax limit, to take that money, that pool, and distribute it to the teams that have been hurt by the collapse of Diamond Sports, Ballet Sports, etc.
Okay.
That includes the Padres, the Rockies, the Pirates, Texas, Kansas City, Houston so far. Every team is going to get a $15 million payment out of the tax pool. Every team will get that has been damaged. So that, the Padres lost their $40 million a year TV package. Well, they're going to get $15 million every year from baseball until something changes with the structure of the telecast. So that's good. And right now, I think there's 5 to 6 teams doing the instant $15 million payment. And if Diamond Sports completely goes away, other clubs that are damaged are going to be eligible for that payment too. So that's a different form of revenue share, but I think it's a positive.
That's interesting. I mean, that's not a bad idea there. A good solution there to fix a problem. But I just want to comment here on the Yankees and people hating the Yankees. I mean, even if you had a revenue share deal, people are still going to hate the Yankees. And my belief is that there are some people in America that hate winners, and it doesn't matter if it's the Yankees or the Patriots or the 49ers or the Lakers. If they're a winning team and they're dominant, people want to see them lose. They want to tear them down. And we even see that in the world of business as well. So I think it's just haters love to hate, and that's what you're seeing here.
Okay, we move on. We got a lot of good social media comments here. Go ahead, John. Fire away.
Let's go Dodgers here. This is from Oscar. Hey, Lee, a lot of decisions and losing had to go to Dave Roberts. To me, he has no strategy and relies on analytics. They had an infield that played together for 8 years and an outfield with 30 home runs each, and he sticks with his guys. Roberts pulls players out and replaces players that can't produce. It's about time the Dodgers fire Dave Roberts.
The most amazing thing to me last Sunday, the LA Times, unfortunately, the Union Tribune doesn't. LA Times still has a letters to the editor page on Sunday. And I read 8 straight letters to the editor, negative, about Dave Roberts. Dave's got 1 more year to go in his current contract. First place Dodgers. 8 division titles in a row Dodgers. Been to the World Series Dodgers. And they want this guy out. Now, they've been beset by unbelievable injuries. As I say, as of today, with Landon Knack undergoing elbow surgery, they now have had 17 pitchers on the DL. And where's Dave Roberts' team in the standings?
First place.
First place. So I don't quite understand and buy it. Does he accede to the wishes of the people upstairs, the analytics guy? Yeah, but that's happened in a lot of places in Major League Baseball. Maybe it's an uncomfortable comfort zone that these guys have to operate in. I still think he's a good manager. I think he runs a really good clubhouse. I think, when you get big money and everybody's making the kind of bank players are making, you get into egos. And you get into conflicts, and you get into agendas, and you get into attitudes. Just ask the Padres clubhouse the last couple of years. You don't see any of that. Dave Roberts, I think, pleases the clubhouse. So at the end of the day, Oscar, I don't quite agree with you. And for them to finish in first place this year with 17 pitchers on the DL, nobody could survive that. And yet the Dodgers are still in first place.
I love seeing the Dodgers choke in the playoffs. That's very entertaining for me as a kid who grew up a Giants fan and is now a Padre fan. But firing Dave Roberts now would be worse than the Chargers firing Marty Schottenheimer. Wouldn't you agree?
Probably pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because the decisions are coming. I really believe decisions are coming from upstairs. I think the analytics people send down those 2 sheets. They inform him that they want, and the batting order has been rock solid at the top, and they're trying to fix the bottom of the batting order. But the decision is, this is the first guy we recommend you take out of the bullpen. And if you got a closer situation, these are the analytic matchups when it's this left-hander versus left-handed batters. And he's got to have all that data, and he understands what they want upstairs. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. Sometimes it works despite the fact analytics guy might be wrong because they got great players with a high payroll. So,
but that's what AJ Preller was doing with the Padres, right? And his staff was, but for when the Padres do it, it's meddling. But when the Dodgers do it, well, they're a first-class organization.
And they're in first place.
Okay.
There's a big issue. So they're telling Bob Melvin, we want this and this and that, and it's not working out. So tough call. Sorry, Oscar. I don't buy this social media message. They're not going to fire Dave Roberts.
Yeah, no way. Okay, let's go here. Let's talk a little Rams and Chargers. This is from Conrad. Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk from Florida State was an unbelievable pick by the Rams. The Rams defense will be solid. Hope it'll be enough to topple San Francisco for the NFC West. As for the other team, if Jim Harbaugh can get them to win, no one can. But I think Harbaugh can do it.
Harbaugh needs players. He's going to need some time. We're not going to start ordering Super Bowl tickets this season because I don't think he's got the roster. You go back and look at the Rams. Super Bowl early under Sean McVay. Fell down because of injuries. Their last 2 drafts have really been good. They drafted a whole offensive line last year, and they virtually all played, and nobody got hurt, which is kind of unique. They went in, got defensive end, defensive tackle. There is no Aaron Donald. They're going to be a very different team that kind of rebuilt the secondary. If this cornerback, who they got from Buffalo, Trey White, can come back from the Achilles injury and be what he was with the Bills, boy, that they're going to be really good defensively. Because I agree with you. What they got out of Florida State at the top of the draft board, those guys are going to play immediately. Can they stay healthy? Remains to be seen. Can the offensive linemen not have any setback physically to protect Matthew Stafford? Obviously, they think they've got the right running backs now with the Notre Dame kid, Kyron Williams, and with Blake Corum, who did really a lot of diverse things in the mini camps. I I think the Rams are pretty good. I think the Chargers, a year from today, will have a much better sense how close they are to being a really good playoff team, as long as they keep Herbert healthy. But they got to be able to run it, and they got to replace all these guys at wide receiver that they let go. So there's huge question marks at their camp in El Segundo.
What was the regular season record for both of these teams last year?
Rams made the playoffs, won a distance with Stafford. Did they win 12 games in the regular season? I don't know. The Chargers were 5-12, and that was a disaster. They never recovered from the terrible beatdown they took at the hands of the Raiders. It was a 62-21.
That was a brutal one. Oh. You still get people on social media zinging you on that one. But the Rams, we thought they were going to have a lot of trouble last year.
We thought it was transition year.
Yeah, and they exceeded expectations.
They drafted a stud guard who I thought was really good, Steve Avila. He's going to be their starting center. He's so good. They moved him in immediately this year. He played played every snap last season.
Wow.
And they right guys, right time, and a right amount of luck. Nobody got hurt. So I think the Rams are going to be fascinating. And of course, it's a tough-ass division with San Francisco. But is San Francisco going to implode because of all these, I want my money now? That's an issue with what's going on in San Francisco with the quarterback and with the wide receivers. Next question.
All right, let's talk Padre baseball with Ball 7906. Hacksaw, love you, but you don't seem to understand. The Padres are not even in playoff position. They're 52-50 and going absolutely nowhere. Side note, this was written in social media a few days ago, except perhaps 6th wild card if everything goes right. Why give up prospects for that? They should be sellers. Fire AJ and rebuild.
That's a reach. I mean, you're committed to such big money contracts, Paul, and that's the big issue. Is they got guys they can't trade. Now those guys are their core players, and they've strip mined the farm system for a third time. There's not much left out there that they can move. But if they did not have injuries at the front end of the rotation, this might be a very different storyline. We might be talking about a real dogfight with the Dodgers. And but you can also come back at me and say, "Hey, dumbass. The Dodgers has 17 pitchers on the DL you just told us about, and they're still in first place. So don't use the injuries to the Padres pitching staff to explain why they're in second place." But they might be a wild card team. The proof in the pudding is how healthy are they when they get to the wild card, and can they cause some damage and go a couple rounds in? That's the whole key. I don't know that they can, because it does not look like Darvish is coming back, and Musgrove is so far behind the curve now. I mean, he's got to go through all the rehab and make sure he can pitch. And then how's he going to pitch when he comes out of the rehab? And is he getting holed up without another setback? So Padres might be a periphery wild card team. The Dodgers are the real deal because they got all their stars.
You know how people often say, well, every team's going to win 50 and lose 50. And that's what the Padres were. They were 50-50 after 100 games.
But with a $161 million payroll, it shouldn't be like that.
No, it shouldn't.
But they got the injury issue.
But, I just got to give a shout out. Jay Cronenworth is a really special player.
Oh, scrapper.
Oh, and he's just so versatile. He's got the right mindset. He has the big hits when he needs them. And to think that he was a throw-in in that Tommy Pham Hunter Renfroe trade, he has just been terrific. Huge props for that guy.
It just might well be AJ's boots on the ground. He's got scouts everywhere. He's probably got a scout behind that curtain. I mean, their ability to sight and scope guys and say, this guy has the potential to make himself a really good player. Because the problem is that AJ's got this addictiveness to trading, and he just keeps trading prospects all the time.
Donovan Solano is going to be a good trade chip for him, don't you think?
I think that they've found some guys. They've rented some guys, and rental guys are difference makers over the course of 162 games. Solano is a lifetime utility guy. He's been with 9 teams. David Peralta, now he started to finally hit after having really struggled. Those are the kind of guys that can make a difference over a grind of 162 games. I mean, Kyle Higashioka, the catcher from the Yankees, damn, I bet the Yankees wish they had him back. He's not going to play 150 games for you, but boy, has he been productive behind the plate. And obviously he's hit home runs. And those 3 guys that I just mentioned, they've all been, quote, plug-in difference makers. That's what you need to have a really good team.
Higashioka was hitting like under 100
Yeah.
like in April. And we were like, oh my God, who did Preller trade for? And there's something very unassuming about Higashioka. He's not like this tough guy, this, flamboyant guy. He's just sort of a mild-mannered dude. And yeah, he can hit bombs.
And he's productive in lots of different ways.
And his defense is better than Campusano's.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, what a find in that deal.
So, I mean, if this becomes a playoff team and they go a round or two into the playoffs, you say, well, it wasn't just the stars, it was these plug-in guys. I mean, Walden, that's why I go back and talked about Ruben Niebla.
Mm-hmm.
And these plug-in guys, the guys on the pitching staff that Niebla has helped form, it's just phenomenal.
Well, go back to the Juan Soto deal. Okay, you end up getting
Soto and Josh Bell.
Right. Those. Yeah, well, no. I'm talking about when Soto went to the Yankees.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because we got Higashioka, who's been productive. We got Vasquez, who's figured it out. Michael King, who is a stud. Okay,
and Brito, who's hurt.
Brito's hurt, and then we had the Drew Thorpe, which turned into Dylan Cease.
Yeah, he went to Chicago as part of that multiplayer deal. And
so
he's really talented to be delivered a year from now, although he's pitched to the major leagues and has hung in there as a kid.
So that haul back from the Yankees, that's turned out to be a lot better than I think we expected.
And Niebla figured out what Cease was doing wrong. And Cease looks so different now than he did early on when you'd watch. I heard you cursing into your cell phone when he was throwing home run balls and walking batters and the strike zone was moving on him all the way. And Niebla, to me, is an MVP candidate for how he's created all the stuff with the pitching staff.
Padres have had a good history of pitching coaches, haven't they?
Yeah. And there've been a couple that have been here that I thought were really good and not here, not in baseball anymore. But so what Niebla has accomplished has really been special. A couple more here on social media.
Okay, we got some more Yankees, haters on here. This is from V Tiger. Because I have never forgiven the Yankees for ruining the 1976 and 1977 World Series by just being there.
The fact is, and maybe it's got more to do with who owns them. Steinbrenner, all his money, all his bombastic tendencies, how he treated people, Billy Martin, all that. Or maybe it goes even farther back when the Yankees had the greatest farm system of all. It's called the Chain Gang, and Mantle and Maris and Whitey Ford and Yogi. I mean, the legacy of Yankee baseball, of course, it even goes farther back to the Bambino in the 1920s. So, yeah, there's a lot of years of dislike, but organizationally, it's been one of the best-run organizations, most successful organizations in a long time. Steinbrenner personality notwithstanding.
Back in that era, I was a little kid, and when the Oakland A's won 3 World Series in a row in the early 70s, and I was still a young lad. I was barely watching TV, but I remember I watched the Red Sox Reds in 75, and that was a huge World Series I indelibly marked in my mind.
That was a Carlton Fisk World Series.
Yeah. And that's my stepfather bought a color TV for our family, and my mom was so angry at him for doing it, but we got to watch the World Series in color. But then right after that, it was the Yankees-Dodgers. And that was Reggie hitting the 3 home runs in the World Series. But the AL playoffs leading up to that, the Royals were a really competitive team then in the late 70s. And those playoff games were terrific.
Yeah, the Dennis Leonards of the world and all the great players that Kansas City had for a small fragment of time.
Chambliss was there for a while, and Cookie Rojas, and there were a lot of good players on that. Hal McRae and George Brett.
Yep, very, very good baseball for a short period of time. But the Yankees have been so dominant for so long, and the Dodgers were so great for so long. So that's what makes baseball turn. Couple more here.
Couple more. Let's talk about the umpires. This is from David. He says, human umps are as much a part of the game as the players themselves. Sometimes you get the call. Sometimes they get the call. Also, multiple stoppages to play for reviews is counter to all of their recent efforts to speed up the game. No thanks.
Well, if you're only giving the managers 3 challenges next season, that won't be a lot of interruptions. They'll save all those challenges for the most important inning, big rally inning, end of the game inning. They're not going to do it in the first and third inning. Now, how many challenges? Is it going to be 3? I project maybe 5. I think the umps' jobs are really hard because these pitchers out there are throwing such wicked stuff now with ball movement. It's tough. And then when you got catchers who are moving around that box and trying to screen pitchers, it's really hard. I still think the human element should be there. I wish the umpiring was more consistent. The freaking strike zones just keep changing, which has been a real problem. I apologize if you're an Angel Hernandez fan, but that's the reason we're going to wind up with computers calling balls and strikes. But I don't think they're going to take over the whole game. I think it'll be use of computers. Human element stays. You get 3 challenges or maybe 5 challenges a game, and I don't think the delays are going to be long withstanding. That's the perspective I'd sure like to see be developed.
Yeah, this was weird because in the beginning, I agreed with David. I used to think, oh, it's part of the artistry of baseball, the imperfections are what makes baseball beautiful, like artwork. And I was wrong, you got to get the call right, and so these Angel Hernandez's and, human element, I think it's great if you can get the robo ump, the computerized balls and strikes, but I don't like 3 or 5 challenges from the manager who's going to have to challenge from the dugout, who doesn't really get a good view. So I've seen the system work in the minor leagues where the player gets the ability to appeal, and they can just tell the ump looks back, and then he gets a call right back, like boom, boom. There's no delay. I think that's how it should work.
Players in the minor leagues don't like it. They still think this is too many interferences. And I can't see somebody taking control at home plate instead of having Mike Schilt make that decision. I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out, because there will be instant replay challenges on balls and strikes, but there'll be a minuscule amount, and I don't think the number of interruptions are going to be all that great. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this extended Thursday edition of our podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 stores to serve you, and by North County Eye Center, offering free eye exams through the end of the month. Call North County Eye Center. Just tell them Hacksaw sent you. John, take a deep breath. We're going to enjoy this great sports weekend because we got the trading deadline, and I'm waiting for the first domino to fall because I think a lot more dominoes are going to fall. Hope you'll tell your friends, share, and subscribe to what we do. We'll be back here Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific for the next edition of Hacksaw's Monday Bonus Podcast. Have a great sports weekend.
You too, Lee.
And you have a great sports weekend. Thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.